A body floats in the dark waters off the Spanish coast. The date is April 30th, 1943. A local fisherman spots something strange drifting in the morning tide. He rows closer. A man in a British uniform bobs face down in the waves. A briefcase is chained to his wrist. The fisherman crosses himself and pulls the corpse aboard. The body belongs to Major William Martin of the Royal Marines. His pockets contain love letters and a photograph of his fiancée. But Major William Martin never existed. The corpse is a homeless man who died on a London street. British intelligence dressed him in uniform. They filled his pockets with lies. They chained secret invasion plans to his wrist. Then they dropped him into the sea. This dead man is about to fool Adolf Hitler. He will convince the Nazi high command to move 7 divisions to the wrong country. He will save thousands of lives without firing a shot. This is the story of the greatest deception in military history. By early 1943, the Allies faced an impossible problem. They had defeated Rommel in North Africa. Now they needed to invade Europe. And every general knew the obvious target: Sicily. The island sat like a stepping stone between Africa and Italy. Take Sicily, and you open the door to Rome. Take Sicily, and you split the Axis powers in half. Every Allied strategist could see it. Every German general expected it. Hitler had fortified the island with tens of thousands of troops. Coastal guns pointed seaward from concrete bunkers. Panzer divisions waited inland, ready to push any landing force back into the sea. The beaches were killing grounds. Allied commanders estimated 90 days to conquer Sicily. The casualty projections were staggering. Thousands of young men would die on those beaches in the first hours alone. Thousands more would fall in the rocky hills beyond. Winston Churchill paced the war rooms beneath London. He demanded alternatives. There had to be another way to crack open Fortress Europe. The problem was deception. The Allies desperately needed Hitler to look elsewhere. Greece, perhaps, or the island of Sardinia. Anywhere but Sicily, where the real blow would fall. But how do you fool the most paranoid dictator in history? German intelligence was ruthless and thorough. They had agents planted across neutral Spain. They intercepted Allied communications constantly. Any fake radio message would be spotted immediately. The Allies needed something the Germans would believe without question. They needed something so authentic that Hitler would stake his empire on it. They needed a dead man with a briefcase full of secrets. Lieutenant Commander Ewen Montagu sat in a cramped London office. He was a lawyer before the war, a man of logic. Now he worked for naval intelligence. His job was to think the unthinkable. Montagu remembered a memo from 1939. It described a body washing ashore with fake documents. The Germans had believed those documents completely. What if that accident could be recreated deliberately? He took the idea to Flight Lieutenant Charles Cholmondeley of the RAF. The young officer had a reputation for wild schemes. Most people thought he was slightly mad. That made him absolutely perfect. Together they proposed Operation Mincemeat. The plan was elegant and insane. Find a fresh corpse, dress it as a British officer, plant fake invasion plans pointing to Greece and Sardinia instead of Sicily. Then dump the body off the Spanish coast where German agents would find it. Their superiors at the Admiralty were horrified. Use a dead body as a weapon? It seemed ghoulish and desperate. It seemed like something that could never possibly work against German intelligence. But Churchill loved it immediately. The Prime Minister understood deception. He knew the Germans respected physical evidence above all else. A drowned courier with classified documents would seem completely authentic. Now Montagu faced his first impossible task. He needed a corpse that could pass as a drowning victim. The body had to be fresh and military age. The cause of death had to fool a Spanish autopsy. And he had to keep everything secret from almost everyone. London morgue. Glynis man. He had died in an abandoned warehouse. No one would miss him. He listed the cause of death. The body was placed on ice in absolute secrecy at work. Major Will identity. He needed to be life. The Germans would entail. Montagu created Pam. He wrote love letters. He obtained a photograph of Ive. He tucked the picture, added theater ticket stubs from a stern letter from Martin's fits, a receipt from a ring. Every detail to her about to be married. A Mac home. The classified care. Montagu's senior British generals in Sardinia as the true. They dismissed Sicily as merely. The letters were typed on official. They bore authentic signatures. They were sealed and placed in a corpse's wrist. HMS Spanish waters. The crew other equipment. Only Montagu HMS Seraph slipped out of Scotland on April 19, 1943. The submarine carried a special metal canister packed with dry ice. Inside lay the frozen body of Major William Martin. Lieutenant Norman Jewell commanded the vessel. He knew his secret mission could change the war. For 11 days they crept south through U-boat-infested waters. The crew never questioned the mysterious cargo. On April 30th, Seraph surfaced off Huelva, Spain. The coastal town was crawling with German agents. That was exactly why Montagu had chosen this location. At 4:30 in the morning, the crew assembled silently on deck. They opened the frozen canister and removed the body with great care. Major Martin had been carefully thawed and dressed in uniform. Captain Jewell read a passage from the Bible. The officers stood at rigid attention. Then they gently slipped the corpse into the black Atlantic water. The tide carried Major Martin toward the Spanish shore. A fisherman named Jose found the body floating hours later. He rowed it to the harbor master. Local authorities notified the British vice-consul, but the Spanish also notified the Germans within hours. The Abwehr descended on Huelva immediately. They photographed every document through the sealed envelopes using special techniques. They copied everything and replaced the letters perfectly. Then they sent the precious intelligence to Berlin. Adolf Hitler received the report personally. The Führer expected tricks from the British, but this seemed authentic. A drowned officer, personal love letters, a photograph of his fiancée. No one would fake something so elaborate and so human. Hitler made his fateful decision. The real Allied invasion would strike at Greece and Sardinia. Sicily was merely a deception. He ordered immediate reinforcements to the eastern Mediterranean. 7 German divisions began moving away from Sicily. Panzer units rolled toward Greece. Coastal defenses shifted to Sardinia. The trap was closing. In London, Montagu received a coded message. It contained just 2 words: mincemeat swallowed. On July 9, 1943, the largest amphibious invasion in history began. 160,000 Allied troops stormed the beaches of Sicily. The Germans were caught completely off guard. Hitler had moved his best divisions to Greece. The panzer units that should have defended Sicily were hundreds of miles away. The coastal defenses were undermanned and unprepared. Allied casualties were a fraction of what planners had feared. The conquest took 38 days instead of 90. General Patton raced across the island. Montgomery pushed up from the south. Italian resistance collapsed within weeks. Mussolini fell from power on July 25th. Italy would surrender within months. The German High Command never understood what happened. They blamed Italian incompetence. They blamed Allied air superiority. They never suspected a dead homeless man had fooled them. The 7 divisions Hitler moved to Greece arrived too late. They defended beaches where no invasion came. Thousands of German soldiers had been positioned against an enemy that never appeared. Meanwhile, real Allied forces walked into Sicily almost unopposed. Operation Mincemeat saved countless lives. The quick victory shortened the Mediterranean campaign by months. It opened the door to the Italian mainland. Churchill called it the most spectacular deception of the war. Military academies still teach it as the perfect example of strategic misdirection, all because 2 intelligence officers believed the impossible was worth attempting. In a small cemetery in Huelva, Spain, a headstone marks an unusual grave. It reads Major William Martin, Royal Marines. The Spanish buried him with full military honors. For decades, no one knew his true identity. The British kept the secret classified until 1996. Only then did historians learn about Glyndwr Michael, the Welsh vagrant who helped win the war. Michael had lived on the streets of London. He died alone and forgotten, but his body accomplished what armies could not. He convinced Adolf Hitler to abandon Sicily. In 1998, the British added a plaque to his grave. It finally acknowledged his true name and his service. Ewen Montagu wrote a book about the operation in 1953. It became an international bestseller. The story has been adapted for film twice, most recently in 2021. The deception worked because of extraordinary attention to detail. Every love letter, every theater stub, every penny in Major Martin's pocket told a story the Germans wanted to believe. Operation Mincemeat proved that wars can be won with imagination. 2 desk officers with a crazy idea changed history. They saved thousands of lives with a corpse and carefully written lies. Glyndwr Michael never knew he would become a hero, but 80 years later, people still visit his grave to honor the man who never was.